Good morning. So we are going to go ahead and continue with confidence interval for population proportion. We have done that last class, and also the class before that, a little bit we got started. Today we are going to continue with it and finish it, and then go ahead and work on confidence interval for population mean. So today's objective would be to finish up confidence interval for population proportion and start confidence interval for population mean. Okay. And then if time permits, we are going to go into confidence interval for population standard deviation, which is a new distribution that we will be using for that. It's called chi-square distribution. But let's go ahead and talk about confidence interval for population proportion. So let's see, we did the cyberbullying problem. Let's do this few quickly. So the first one is, you are interested in finding out about the true population of fellow students that plan to attend four-year colleges or universities after finishing their first 2 years here. You asked 50 people. So that means your N or sample size is 50. And found that 20 plans to attend four-year institutions. So that means that 20 should be your X. You need to create an 80% confidence interval. So your confidence interval is 80%. Confidence interval for the true population proportion of students that want to attend four-year institutions. So we have N, we have X, we have confidence interval. The first thing we are going to do is find the p hat. Sample proportion is X over N, which is 20 over 50, that is 0.4. Okay, your p hat is 0.4. Now, what is your significance level? Alpha, which is 1 minus the confidence level, right? So 1 minus 0.8, which is 0.2. So your alpha over 2 is going to be 0.2 divided by 2, which is 0.1. All right. Now you're going to draw the bell-shaped curve. And again, we are going to consider the middle 80%. So that's 0.8, and this to the right is 0.1, and to the left is 0.1. Okay. To the right is 0.1, and to the left is 0.1. Now we need to go back into the standard normal distribution table and find the value z-score. So we need to find the z-score associated with this and this. So what we are going to do, we are going to go back to the table, which is right here. So 0.1, you look inside the table and try to find the value that is closest to 0.1. So I see that 0.1, 0.1056, 0.103, 0.1003, 0.1003, this value, okay? This value, 0.1003, that value is the closest to 1. 0.1, I mean. So that connects with negative 1.2, and in the column 0.08. So it's going to be negative 1.08. Okay. So this is going to be negative 1.08, I meant 1.28 is 1.2 here negative. So this is going to be negative 1.28, and by symmetry that is going to be positive 1.28. Okay, so that's your z sub alpha over 2, which is the same as z sub, so this is going to be negative on the left hand side, z sub 0.10, and this is going to be z sub alpha over 2, which is the same as z sub 0.1. Now we found all the values that we need in order to calculate the margin of error, E hat, okay, which is z sub alpha over 2 times square root of p hat times 1 minus p hat, all of it divided by the sample size. Z sub alpha over 2 is 1.28, which we found. We take the positive value, remember. And p hat is 0.4, so 0.4 times 1 minus p hat is 1 minus 0.4, all of it divided by the sample size, which is 50. If you do the math, it's going to be 1.28 times square root of 0.4 times 0.6, which is 0.24, all of it divided by 50 is going to be 1.28. So E hat is square root of 0.24 over 50. Now, if I were to simplify it, okay, if I were to simplify it, we will see 0.24 divided by 50 to the power 0.5, which is square root, times 1.28. That gives me 0.0886. E hat is equal to 0.0886. So that's your margin of error. So your confidence interval is going to be p hat plus or minus E hat, which is going to be p hat minus E hat, comma, p hat plus E hat. So it's going to be p hat is 0.4 minus 0.0886, comma, 0.4 plus 0.0886. So 0.4 minus 0.0886 is 0.31, 0.3114, comma, 0.4 plus 0.0886, there's gonna be 4.4886, and that should be your confidence interval. Okay, that is your confidence interval. How confident are you? So this is between what percentage? This is between 31.14% and 48.86%. Okay. All right. 31.14% and 48.86%. All right. So how confident are you in this? You're 80% confident. What does that mean? If you were to create many confidence intervals of sample size 50, okay, many of them, let's say 100,000 of them. So let's say you created 100,000 confidence intervals, each with sample size 50, then out of those 100,000, approximately 80,000 will include the actual population proportion or the actual percentage of people, those who attend college, and 20,000 of them will not. And that's what it means. This is exactly the same process that we have done already several times in the last class. So let's go ahead and continue with it. We are going to go ahead and do it again. So you're going to see it so many times that you'll really get used to it. Okay, which one am I in? Okay, the next one is, again, exact same type of problem, marijuana users. What I want you to do, take a few minutes, okay, and work on it. Everybody, take a piece of paper and work on it. By now, you have seen plenty of examples, okay? Plenty of examples. And I'm gonna even put it here so that you can look at the last example. For the problem, you can look into your own notes, okay? On handout that I sent you. I'll leave the problem here so that you can work on it. So I'll give you a couple of minutes, a few minutes to work on it. Work on the marijuana problem, okay? Work on the marijuana problem. So this one, all right? Let me just move it maybe to the top. That way you might be able to see it even if, okay, yeah, great. You can see it on the screen. So I'll give you a few minutes to work on this problem and maybe 5 minutes, okay? And then I'll go ahead and ask you questions. So everybody, please take a piece of paper and start working on it. Okay, so n is 30, x is 7, so we can easily find p hat x over n, which is 7 over 30, whatever number it comes out, okay? Now, the next thing is this. Confidence level is 97%. So we are gonna create this. So the middle is 97 or 0.97. All right. So 1 minus 0.97. Oops, why is it not coming up? 1 minus 0.97 is 0.03. Okay, so that's your alpha. So alpha over 2 is gonna be 0.03 divided by 2, or alpha over 2 is equal to 0.015. Okay, so now we are gonna look at z sub alpha over 2. So somebody tell me what is the z value you got for 0.015? Anybody can tell me what is the z value you got for 0.015? Anyone got it? Jerry, you got it? Jerry? Alicia? Okay. Maijen, you got it? The value for this?
Negative 2.17.
That sounds about right. So it should be, thank you, negative 2.17. And this should be 2.17. Okay, just make sure that it is correct. It looks about right.
I have a question.
Yes.
When we're solving for the P subhead and we come out with an answer that's like 0.6666 or
Yeah.
0.6633? How do we know where to round it to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I ran into because I created the problems and I ran into this problem. So this is one of them, right? So 7 divided by 30 gives you 0.233. So let's make it approximately 0.23. Okay. So second digit, 100th place. So round it there.
Thanks.
Okay. So my E hat is gonna be Z sub alpha over 2 times square root of P hat times 1 minus P hat divided by N is gonna be 2.17 times square root of P hat 0.23 times 1 minus 0.23 divided by N is 30. Okay. Now, if you simplify it, what number do you get? What did you guys get? 0.23 times 1 minus 0.23 divided by 30 to the power 0.5 times 2.17. I got 0.1667. Is that what you got? So, anyone got this value? No, no one got it? Let me double check. 1, 2, 3 times 1 minus 0.23 divided by 30 to the power 0.5 times 2.17. Yeah, 0.1667. So your confidence interval is going to be P hat plus or minus E hat, okay, which is P hat minus E hat, comma, P hat plus E hat, which is P hat is 0.23 minus 0.1667, comma, 0.23 plus 0.1667. So 0.23 minus 0.1667, which is 0.0663, 0.0633, and 0.23 plus 0.1667 is 0.3967. 0.3967, which is basically saying 6.33%, between 6.33% and 39.67%. Okay. So there is we are 97% confident that the true proportion of marijuana users who experience some sort of memory issue, some sort of memory loss, falls between 6.33% and 39.67%. That's a pretty big range, by the way. And that is the reason for this is that our confidence level has to be higher. Okay, our confidence level is very high. So now, how could we shrink this? So let's say we want to keep the same confidence level, but we want to shrink this. That means it is going from 6% to 39% or 7% to 40%, let's say, right? How can we bring it closer? What can we do? Anybody has any suggestion? What is it that we could do? What changes can we make to make sure that the spread is not too big? Okay. So it goes from 6% to, let's say, 39%. That's pretty big range. Okay. What can we do?
Test more users?
What is it, please?
Would testing more users?
Exactly. Increase the number of people that you survey. Thank you. Increase the number of people you survey. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna make this range become smaller. Or if you reduce your confidence level, then also this is gonna get smaller. But we don't want to reduce the confidence level. We want to have high confidence in the calculation that we are doing. And for that to happen, we need to make sure that our sample size is bigger. Okay, so let's say we increase our sample size. So I'm going to play around with the number here. It will be 2.17. Let's say everything is the same. Okay, 0.23 times 1 minus 0.23, all of it divided by, instead of 30, let's say we surveyed 300 people. Let's see what happens in that case. So from margin of error, from 0.16672, where does it go to? Let's see. 0.23 times 1 minus 0.23 divided by 300 is this, to the power 0.5 is this, times 2.17. Okay, see, it goes down to E hat is equal to 0.0527. Okay, previously we had 0.1667. Do you see? There is a significant reduction. There is a significant reduction. It became 1/3. Margin of error became less than 1/3. So if we were to do it using, let's say, 0.05, so it's going to be 0.23 minus 0.05, 0.23 plus 0.05. So 0.23 minus 0.05 is 0.18, and 0.23 plus 0.28. So now it falls between 18% and 28%. Do you see? The range is much narrower. And if you want to get even narrower, then you could increase it from 300 to maybe 1,000 or 500 or 3,000, who knows? Okay, so you can control the confidence interval by increasing the sample size. I think, do you guys feel that I need to do more examples of this, or you guys can do the rest of it? There are 3 more problems. It's the exact same thing. So what do you guys say? You need more practice with this, me doing it? Anybody? Any thoughts?
I'm okay.
How about other people? Mercedes, are you okay? All right, what I will do, I'll do them. I'll do them, but I'll walk through them quickly, because there is no point of doing the exact same thing again and again and again. Okay, according to recent Pew Research, among the married or cohabiting couples in the US, about 1/3 of them have women who earn equal or more in the household. So 1/3 of them, that means 0.33, okay? So that's your P, okay? That's the claim, that's the proportion is a third. You'd like to test this new claim for your city. So you surveyed 100 married or cohabiting couples and found that among the couples surveyed, 22 of them said that women bring equal or more. Based on this information, can you either reject or fail to reject the Pew Research's claim with 95% confidence? So this, oh, by the way, actually, this is slightly different. So here, Pew Research is claiming that about 33%, a third of the households in the US have women who are earning equal or more in the household, right? Now you want to test that claim. So you go to your city and you survey 100 people, and 22 of them said that, oh, okay, the woman in the household earns equal or more out of 100. So your Pn is equal to 100, x is equal to 22, p hat is equal to x over n, which is 22 over 100 is equal to 0.22. Your p hat is 0.22. Now, what we are doing 95% confidence level, so it's going to be middle 0.95. This is 0.025, 0.025. And z value for this is it 1.645? I think it is 1.645. Let me just quickly double check.
I've got -1.96.
Oh, negative 1.96. Okay, 0.05. So for the 10%, it's okay. Great. Thank you. Yeah, negative 1.96. Okay. So this is going to be negative 1.96. This is going to be positive 1.96. So your margin of error is going to be z sub alpha over 2 times square root of p hat times 1 minus p hat, all of it divided by n. So 1.96 times square root of p hat. P hat is 0.22. 2 times 1 minus 0.22, all of it divided by the sample size 100. And if I do the math, what do I get? 0.22 times 0.78 divided by 100 to the power 0.5 times 1.96, which is giving me E hat is equal to 0.0811. Okay, just, yeah, 0.0811. So your confidence interval is going to be P hat plus or minus E hat, which is going to give you P hat minus E hat, comma, P hat plus E hat. So P hat is 0.22, okay, minus E hat is 0.0811, comma, 0.22 plus 0.0811. So 0.22 minus 0.0811 is 0.1389. So it's going to be 0.1389, comma, 0.22 plus 0.0811 is 0.3011, which, by the way, is equal to 13.89%, and 30.11%. So based on your calculation, you are 95% confident that the true proportion of women who make equal or more in the household compared to men falls between 13.89 and 30.11. However, the problem says 1/3, right? P is 1/3 or 0.33. The Pew Research, they found that it is 1/3. Now, 0.33 or 1/3, does it fall in this interval? The answer is no, because the interval goes up to 30% or 0.30, not 0.33. So it does not fall in the confidence interval. So this number that Pew Research has concluded does not fall in the confidence interval for the city. So for at least for your city, you will see, you will say that, Pew Research is probably not correct. We don't say not correct. We'll say that we reject that assumption, okay? Based on our calculation, we reject that assumption maybe for our city. So statistics, it's a bit fluid in explaining things, okay? Different people may explain it differently. We normally don't say that, oh, okay, you're wrong, we are right. No, we say that based on our calculations, we reject that assumption, okay? At least in our case, we reject that assumption for our city because this survey was very local, right? This survey was done in your city, but they are giving a national data. So when they are giving this number, this is probably for the entire country. Now, yours is more localized. So that takes care of this. Now, again, the same kind of thing. According to Pew Research in 2016, 63% of Americans said that homosexuality should be accepted by the society compared to 51% in 2006. So in 2016, 63% people said that homosexuality should be accepted. In 2006, 51%. You wanted to test this new claim, that means this one, 63%. In your city, and you surveyed 100 people randomly, right? 100 randomly selected people, and found that 55 of them said that society should accept homosexuality. Can you reject Pew Research's conclusion for your city with 90% confidence level? 90% confidence level. So this is, by the way, I don't know if you realized it, you already are doing hypothesis testing, but using kind of like a roundabout way, using confidence interval. You are testing a hypothesis. Somebody is claiming something and you are testing it. Somebody is claiming something and you are testing it. This is called hypothesis testing. And there is a standard way of doing hypothesis testing, and we will talk about it. That is our next topic. That means when we finish confidence interval, there is a standard process for doing so, but you can do hypothesis testing using confidence interval as well. All right, so these are actual report, by the way. Now, when I made these problems, so it looks like back in 2016, I made the problem, and for 17 at the latest. What happened is that Pew Research, which is a respectable organization that provides data and survey on our nation and society, and this is a very respectable organization, and they are considered unbiased and reliable. So according to Pew, in 2016, 63% of Americans believe that homosexuality should be accepted. Now you want to test it for your city, whether it's 63% or more, okay? So we are going to create it. So the main goal is we are going to create a confidence interval. And once we create the confidence interval based on our data, right? We create a confidence interval based on the data or based on our survey, right? And then if that confidence interval contains 0.63, then we will say, oh, okay, our city kind of conforms with Pew Research's numbers. Okay. On the other hand, if this 63% or 0.63 is not in the confidence interval, then you will say, oh, our city probably does not conform with that percentage or with that number. Okay. So our city differs from national data. Okay. Nationally, it's 63%. So your N is equal to 100. X is equal to 55. So P hat is equal to X over N, which is 55 over 100 is equal to 0.55. Okay, so P hat is 0.55. Now your margin of error E hat is going to be Z sub alpha over 2 times square root of P hat times 1 minus P hat, all of it divided by the sample size N. And this value, I'm not going to calculate it. I'm not going to look it up in the table. It's 90%, so it's going to be 5% here, 0.05. Oops. 0.05 here. This is 0.9. And this is going to be negative 1.645. And this is going to be positive 1.645. So 1.645 times P hat is 0.55 times 1 minus P hat is 1 minus 0.55 divided by 100 because you surveyed 100 people. And 0.55 times 1 minus 0.55 divided by 100, take square root, multiply it by 1.645, that gives you 0.0818. So your margin of error is 0.0818, okay? So your confidence interval is going to be P hat plus or minus E hat, P hat minus E hat, comma, P hat plus E hat. So P hat is 0.55 minus E hat is 0.0818. 0.55 plus 0.0818. Okay, so 0.55 minus 0.0818 is gonna be 0.4682, comma, 0.55 plus 0.0818 is 0.6318, which is between what, 46.82% and 63.18%. So our confidence interval that we created based on our data actually includes this 0.63. So we will not reject Pew Research's conclusion, okay, for our city. For our city, we will not reject the conclusion that Pew Research has made nationally. Okay, that's what it is. Is this okay, guys?
Yes.
All right. Exactly same thing. Doing the same problem again and again. According to Pew Research in 2017, 67% of the Muslim Americans believe that the blacks should be given equal rights with the whites compared to 57% in the population. In the population, 57% of the people believe that blacks should be given equal rights to whites, and whereas in the Muslim community, it is higher. Now, before I do the problem, I kind of want to talk about something. It really breaks my heart to see how backward this world is, even in the 21st century. We claim ourselves to be modern, and hold on one second, please. Okay, sorry. So what happened is this: it breaks my heart to see how backward we are in this world. Some of the things that I consider to be basic, very basic, like men and women should have equal rights, it's not basic in this world. And it's so surprising that we treat people so differently based on nothing but skin color. And that is a shame for us as humans. And I just can't believe it. It does exist. And it does exist so much. Right now, you guys are probably dealing with a situation like this. But hopefully, the world will improve. We try to stay positive. It just doesn't make any sense to me that we have to fight for things to other people. Like, oh, okay, my skin color is different than yours, so I have to fight for my rights. This should be given. In my opinion and expectation, it should be given, regardless. And when I see data like this, 57% or 67% of the people think, oh, okay, they should be given. It should be 100% without any questions asked. This should not even be a question. But the real world is different. The real world is very different. Unfortunately, we live in a world where people are defined by color, gender, religious faith. And religion is another one. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You practice what you believe in, okay? And that is your choice. And I should have respect for people who are not practicing the same faith as I do, and vice versa. But it doesn't work that way. It is crazy. And another issue that we deal with is sexuality. That's their private business. Whoever prefers what, it's not my business. And all I can say is have respect for whatever they believe in and treat them fairly and equally. But unfortunately, the world is not as we expect it to be, even at this basic level. These are things I personally think that we shouldn't even be in a situation where we have to really even be talking about it. There are other amazing things in the world that we can talk about, or in the universe, instead of fighting with each other. This is actually just fighting with each other, nothing else. Like when we fight about color, fight about gender, fight about religion, it's just fighting with each other without any reason. Human-made problems. Like I'm a man, it's not because I deserved anything better. No, I just was born man. Somebody is a woman because she was born as a woman. And for that reason, no one should be treated differently. Okay? It's like saying, oh, I have a certain skin color, so I should be treated better or worse. So it's kind of like unfortunate. But anyway, people try to pass it along by saying it's politics. No, it's not. It's probably it's part of it politics, but the reality is that it hurts people. People's lives are destroyed by discrimination and mistreatment based on race, gender, color, sexuality, religion, and we should all be aware of it. And in the US, we really need to improve race relations. We really do. All right, back to our problem. Okay, so 67% Muslim Americans believe that blacks should be given equal rights with the whites, right? So to test this new claim, you surveyed 100 Muslim Americans, including your teacher. I'm just kidding on this one. And found that 70 believed that blacks need to have equal rights, right? Can you reject Pew Research's claim with 85% confidence level? Mijan, can you do me a favor and find the z sub alpha over 2 on this problem while I'm working on it? It should be z sub 0.075, okay? You should look for that area, 0.075 inside the table.
It's negative 1.44.
Perfect, thank you. Negative 1.44. So my n is 100 and my x is 70. My p hat is x over n is equal to 70 over 100, which is 0.7. Okay. All right. So 0.7 is my p hat. Now, look, we need to find the margin of error, which is easy. We have found it many times already. Z sub alpha over 2 times p hat times 1 minus p hat, all of it divided by n. And of course, let me just draw the thing here. And this is gonna be 0.075. This is gonna be 0.075. And you know how to find that value, right? Alpha is equal to 1 minus 0.8. Is it 85? 85, yeah, 0.85 is equal to 0.15, right? So alpha over 2 is 0.15 divided by 2, which is 0.075. And that's how I got 0.075, okay, in each tail. And my gene says this is going to be 1.44, which sounds right. Negative 1.44, right? So we just plug in these values here. E hat is equal to, what is the number? 1.44. 1.44 times square root of 0.7 times 1 minus 0.7 is 0.3 divided by 100. N is 100. So if I do the calculation, 0.3 times 0.7 divided by 100 is equal to this. Take the square root and multiply it by 1.44, which is going to give me 0.0659. Margin of error from the sample is 0.0659. So your confidence interval is going to be p hat plus or minus e hat, which is going to be p hat minus e hat, comma, p hat plus e hat. And that is going to give me p hat is 0.7 minus 0.0659, comma, 0.7 plus 0.0659. And if you do the math, it's going to be 0.7 minus 0.0659 is 0.6341. 0.6341, comma, 0.7 plus 0.0659, which is 0.7659, 0.7659. If you do the math, it's going to be 63.41%, comma, 76.59%. Now, based on your survey, based on your data collection and analysis, you find that for your city, the confidence interval is 63.41%, between 63.41 and 76.59%. Now, does this interval include the national proportion, which is 67%? The answer is yes, it does, because 67 falls between 63 and 76, right? It does fall in that range. Therefore, you would say you do not reject the assumption by Pew Research that 67% of the Muslim Americans believe that blacks should be given equal rights to whites, equal rights compared to whites. Now, it falls within the confidence intervals, so you can say with good confidence, in this case, 85% confidence, 85% confidence that the Muslim community in your city support the rights of black, that kind of at the same level as the national level, okay, which is 67%. All right, any question, anybody, about this? Okay. Also here, I kind of want to share with you another, while we are talking about this problem, I kind of want to share with you another thing that I have noticed, which is kind of interesting. Back in 2014, I went around the world, okay? I went around the world, and I went to maybe, I don't know, 20 or 22 different countries in different continents. And one thing came to my attention is that in pretty much all of these countries, unless even if the country is predominantly black, I noticed that people who are black, whose skin color is black, they are facing challenging times economically and socially. Okay, mostly economically, because I wasn't there long enough to understand socially. If you don't have money, you will struggle in the society that's given anyway. So that was kind of interesting to observe. It doesn't matter where you go. Looks like people who are dark skinned, they are being treated differently. They are not getting fair opportunities in life. And that is a very sad thing. That is a very sad thing. And even to this day, we have to fight for rights equality in the most advanced country in the world, which is the US. We are the leader of the world. We have set significant examples of success, innovation, and everything, but we are so backward in race relations, and that is an unfortunate fact. All right, let's go ahead and continue. All right, so let's talk about our interesting acronym. Remember back in the time we talked about PMS. We are gonna do use that acronym, and of course it doesn't mean what it means in the real society. So what PMS stands for is proportion, mean, and standard deviation. So PMS stands for proportion, mean, and standard deviation. We have done confidence interval for proportion. Now we are going to do confidence interval for mean. Okay. After we are done with that, we are going to do confidence interval for standard deviation. Now I have spent significant amount of time on confidence interval for population proportion, and we have gone through every single example, so it should be good. You guys should be pretty comfortable with the process. If you understood the process, then you are good. You're ready to go. And the rest of the confidence interval would be very easy. Now, when we do confidence interval for mean, by the way, when we do confidence interval for mean, we have to consider two scenarios. One is when you know sigma. That means you know population standard deviation. The other is you don't know sigma. That means you do not know population standard deviation. If you do know sigma, you use something called z-scores table, the one we have been using, z-scores. If you don't know sigma, you use something called t-distribution. It is also known as student t-distribution. Okay. If you know sigma, it is z-scores, the standard normal distribution table that we have been using, that you will be using. But if you don't know sigma, you'll be using t-distribution, also known as student t-distribution. It is called student t-distribution because back in the days, the individual who invented this distribution, he used to work for a beer company, I think it's Guinness. And in those days, if you work for a corporation and you invented anything, corporation owned it, even the copyright to it. So he could not publish it under his name. So he used the pseudonym called student. That's why we call it student t-distribution. Okay. He used the pseudonym student t-distribution. And I don't know the exact name of the person, but you can Google it, you'll find it, student t-distribution. Now what we are going to do, we are going to do confidence interval for population, mean, and we are going to use the central limit theorem. Okay, standard, we are going to make sample size greater than or equal to 30, which will ensure that sampling distribution is bell-shaped. So let's go ahead and jump into problems. I'm not going to go through the theory here. Just gonna jump into the problem. By the way, if you are interested in the theory, it's here. Just read it. It's very similar to what we did for the population proportion. And here, problems are a little bit easier. Your X bar will be something given, and Z sub alpha over 2 you will find, right? And your margin of error E hat, okay, is very easy. It is Z sub alpha over 2 times sigma over square root of n, which you can see right here. Right here. This is actually the margin of error E hat. All right. So rest is pretty straightforward. So your confidence interval is going to be X bar plus or minus E hat. Mr. Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, recently announced that an average person spends 50 minutes per day on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger, like social media. Assume that the times spent on the social networks are normally distributed with population standard deviation 30 minutes, okay? Times that are used on the social media is normally distributed with population standard deviation 30. So it is given to you, by the way, sigma is 30. That means we know sigma. To find out where the population mean reside, you surveyed 200 people and found that their average was 45 minutes. Based on your survey, create 95% confidence interval for the population average. Now, again, you can test it. Test the claim made by Mr. Zuckerberg, okay? He said that people spend about 50 minutes on the average, and he probably is talking about national average, right? Now, you can test his claim. What you can do, you can create a confidence interval A, comma, B, right? Based on your data collection. Now, if this 50 is included in the confidence interval, then you'd say probably with 95% confidence, you'd say Mr. Zuckerberg's numbers are probably good. You'd agree with it. But if 50 is not included in here, then you'd say with 95% confidence, you'd say that Mr. Zuckerberg's numbers are probably not correct, okay? Or you'll reject that assumption. So let's go ahead and do the problem. Sigma is equal to 30, and your survey gave you average of 45. And Mr. Zuckerberg's survey gave him 50. Now, I'm going to ask you to tell me something here, which I have said many times throughout the semester. One of them is X bar here, and the other one is kind of technically mu. Which one is which? I want you to tell me. Now, first of all, tell me what is the difference between X bar and mu. You need to know that. And then once you distinguish between the two, you tell me in the context of this problem, which one is X bar and which one is mu. So I need volunteers. Anybody?
Is mu 45 and X bar 50?
Okay. So first tell me what is mu and what is X bar?
Oh, mu is the population average.
Population mean, right?
And X bar is a sample.
Perfect. Perfect. Sample average is something you get from the sample data, from the sampling, okay? And population average is something that's kind of like given or known fact, all right? In this case, how did you get the number 45, Mijen?
I looked at the verbiage. I don't know if I did it right. In that sentence, it mentions population, so I just correlated that with the 45 minutes. And then the 50 minutes in that sentence, it talks about singular and an average person. So that's how I came up with it. I don't know if that was right.
Okay. So to find out where the population mean reside, okay, you surveyed 200 people and found that their average was what? 45. So isn't this number 45 coming from the survey of 200 people?
Oh, so it's the sample.
Is the X bar is 45 and potentially mu is what? 50, right? Even though we are not going to use this number really in the calculation. So X bar is equal to 45. Now, margin of error, Z sub alpha over 2 times sigma divided by square root of n. Now we are doing 95% confidence. So in the middle, you're going to have 0.95. On the right, you're going to get 0.025. And on the left, you're going to get 0.025. And this is going to be negative 1.96. And this is going to be positive 1.96. This is Z sub 0.025 negative, right? Z sub 0.025 or Z sub alpha over 2. Now we are going to plug in these numbers. 1.96 times sigma is 30 divided by square root of the sample size, which is 200. So 1.96 times 30 is this, divided by square root of 200, right? So 200 square root of it, it gives me 4.15 E hat. So your confidence interval is going to be X bar plus or minus E hat, which is going to be X bar minus E hat, comma, X bar plus E hat, which is going to give me X bar is 45, right? 45 minus 4.15, comma, 45 plus 4.15. So 45 minus 4.15 is 40.85, right? Comma, 49.15. So based on your calculation, the confidence interval that you got is telling you that average number of minutes that an individual spends falls between 40.85 and 49.15 minutes. So that's the confidence interval. And how confident are you in your calculation? Is 95% confidence that you have. So what's going to happen is this. Is 50 in that range? Is 50 included here? The answer is no. So you'd probably say, based on my calculation, I don't agree with Mr. Zuckerberg's numbers. This is just trying to say things in a regular way. I mean, like in ordinary people's language, but I could even make it more simpler. So this is something you should take as an example. When you do the calculation, you're doing the mathematical calculations and using formulas and coming up with conclusions, this and that. You don't try to say, if you're a manager, okay, if you're a manager, you have to report it to your executive people in the company. You don't talk about confidence interval, margin of error, and this and that. Those people don't know about these things, or maybe they know, they forgot about it, or they're not well versed in it. That's not their domain of expertise. So you have to do this calculation, okay? You have to do this calculation on your own. Then when you present it to the upper management, you explain it, or you say it in such a way so that even a kid, even a 5-year-old understands it. So what you will say to your top management is that, based on my calculation, I think Mr. Zuckerberg probably overstated the number. That's it. Okay? Based on my calculation, it seems that Mr. Zuckerberg overstated the number. By the way, in case if you're wondering, this number is true. Okay? I have collected it from the internet. Mark Zuckerberg actually said that at some point in the past, people use it for about 50 minutes. But these numbers are not correct. I didn't do survey. So don't think that this is actually telling this is either refuting his statement versus not. No, because these numbers I made up. So this problem is not actually a real problem, in a sense, in terms of the data. I didn't go out and ask 200 people and found how much time they spent and found the average. I did not do that. Of course, if I were to do this, then I will be spending a lot of time trying to make these problems. That's not going to probably happen. So just to let you know. All right. Again, the same statement here. According to Pew Research, Americans read about 12 books per year. I don't know whether that's true. What does it mean to read 12 books? I just open a book and read 10 pages of it, and that's it. Or I read the whole book. If we as Americans read 12 books per week, we would be probably a lot more well-informed. I don't know about this number, honestly, but I saw that and I took it. Reading 12 books, I'm assuming that a book is about 300 pages. Okay, that's a book. Do you guys read 300 pages book every month? Anybody
No.
here? No? Okay. Some people do. Some of the people in other countries, they read a lot. And they are well informed. Sometimes I kind of feel embarrassed when I go to overseas. These people, particularly in Europe, people are so well informed, well read, and they speak multiple languages, not one. I had a friend he was from Austria. He used to speak 5 different languages, and whereas we struggle to speak one. Anyway, back to our problem. According to Pew Research Center, on the average, an American reads about 12 books per year. Let's assume that the population standard deviation is 6. Okay, I made up that 6, by the way. This number, I got it from the internet, but this 6, they didn't give it to me. I made it up. And the survey also is made up. You surveyed 30 people in your city and found that their average was 10 books per year. Construct 90% confidence interval for the population average. So sigma, we know our sample size. Oh, by the way, I forgot to emphasize the fact n, okay, is equal to 30, which is of course greater than or equal to 30, so we can make the assumption. So for each of these problems, you have to make the assumption that its sampling distribution is bell-shaped, and we can use conclusions of central limit theorem. And all of these problems are designed in such a way so that sample size is greater than or equal to 30. And sigma is equal to 6, and we are doing 90% confidence level, okay, 90%. And I'm gonna draw it. And this is a standard value. This is gonna be negative 1.96. Sorry, 1.645. Is it 1.645? Yeah, 1.645. Negative 1.645 and positive 1.645. And this area is 0.05, this area is 0.05, and the middle is 0.90. And this is your z sub alpha over 2, which is z sub 0.05. And this is z sub alpha over 2, which is z sub 0.05. Now, my margin of error is going to be sigma times sorry, not sigma times, take it back, z sub alpha over 2 times sigma over square root of n. Z sub alpha over 2 is 1.645 times 6 is the sigma square root of 30. So 6 times 1.645 divided by, divided by square root of 30. It gives me 1.8. So E hat is 1.8. And your X bar, what is X bar here, by the way? The average number that you get from the sample. What number would that be? Would that be 12 or would that be 10? X bar should be 10 because that's the number you got by asking 30 people. So remember, when you ask people and collect data, and the numbers that you get from that data is always related to the sample, okay? So keep that in mind. So your confidence interval is gonna be this, X bar minus E hat, comma, X bar plus E hat, right? So X bar is 10 minus 1.8, comma, 10 plus 1.8, which is 8.2, comma, 11.8. So based on your calculation, at 95% confidence level, you claim or you say that, oh, okay, the population average probably falls between 8.2 and 11.8. That means in the general population, on the average, people study between 8.2 and 11.8 books per year. Okay? And that is what, based on your calculation. However, Pew Research says is 12. That 12 is not included in this interval. So you'd probably disagree with Pew Research's conclusion, at least for your city, okay? At least for your city, because it does not include the general population average, which is 12 books per year. And how do they even find that number? I don't know. Okay. Next, according to USA Today, there should be, according to USA Today College, an American college student studies 17 hours per week with population standard deviation 4 hours. Again, this number is actually, I got from USA Today College. There's a newspaper, USA Today, and they probably have a college version. So I got that from there. So according to that, it is 17 hours that average college students study per week. And standard deviation, I made it up. You'd like to know if a similar trend is present at your school. So you surveyed 100 students and found that their weekly average is 15 hours. So at your school or at your college, you surveyed 100 people and you found that their weekly average is 15 hours at 99% confidence interval. Not interval, that's the wrong word. Confidence level. Sorry, I take it back. I didn't read the sentence carefully. This is correct. Created 99% confidence level. So that should be another word here, confidence level interval, or create a confidence interval at 99% confidence level for the population average for your college. So now let's go ahead and look at this. What is X bar and what is mu? In this case, X bar would be 15. Remember, once again, you get that average from the survey of 100 people. Your N is 100, right? Which is greater than or equal to 30. So we can use the conclusions of central limit theorem. So you're good to go there. And mu is going to be probably 17 because USA Today College, they gave you a number that's a national number. So you can assume that that's the mu. And 99% confidence level. So, Mijane, can you give me that number, please, again? This time it's gonna be 0.005. Yeah.
I've got negative 2.575.
Yep, that's correct. Thank you. 0.005. Negative 2.575. And this is gonna be positive 2.575. And this area and this area. How do I get that number? It's easy. 1 minus 0.99, which is 99% confidence, is 0.01. So that's your alpha, right? So alpha over 2 is going to be 0.01 divided by 2, which is going to be 0.005. And that is how I get that. So this is your z sub alpha over 2, which is negative z sub point. I don't know if I should use, technically there is a little bit of thing here, but 0.005, but I won't get into that details of technicality. So this is z sub alpha over 2 is equal to z sub 0.005, right? Now, here is the interesting part. Now, again, you can test the claim by USA Today for your college. So my margin of error is gonna be z sub alpha over 2 times sigma over square root of n. It's very easy. 2.575 times sigma is 4 divided by square root of the sample size, which is how many people? 100. So there's going to be 2.575. Square root of 100 is 10 times 0.4. Okay? Because 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. So 2.575 times 0.4 is 1.03. So your margin of error is going to be 1.03. So your confidence interval is going to be X bar plus or minus E. Okay? Which, by the way, you can say X bar minus E hat, comma, X bar plus E hat, which is X bar is 15, right? It's going to be 15 minus 1.03, comma, 15 plus 1.03, which is going to give you 13.97, comma, 16.03. So based on your calculation, students at your school studies on the average between 13.97 and 16.03 hours per week. And how confident are you in your calculation? You are 99% confident. Now, at this confidence level, you kind of say that probably students at our school studies little less than 17 hours because 17 is not included in the interval that you have created. 17 is not included in the interval that you had created. Okay, so that's what it is. Any question, anybody? Anybody, any questions, anything?
No.
Okay, let's go ahead and do the very last problem. It's already done for you, so I'll just walk through it. According to www.textrequest.com, an American between 18 and 24 sends and receives about 128 text messages per day. Assume that population standard deviation is 30. So this one is a number I got from here, but standard deviation, I made it up. To get an idea about true population mean, you take a survey of 100 adults, okay? And find that their average is 120, create a 95% confidence interval for the population average for this age group. It's pretty much the same thing. I go over this, everything. There is no point of killing the cat too many times. It's 95% confidence. So your Z sub alpha over 2 is 1.96 and sigma is 30, which is this. And you surveyed 100 people right here. That goes here. If you do the math, it comes out to be 5.88. So there should be a hat here. Your E hat is 5.88. So X bar minus E hat, X bar plus E hat. So 128 minus 5.88, 128 plus 5.88 gives you 122.12 and 133.88. Okay. And this confidence interval does contain the number you got from that www.textrequest.com, which is 128. 128 is in here. Okay, so you'll say people in your city probably conform with the national trend, meaning that they probably kind of text as much as other people do in the nation. So we covered in the PMS structure, we are done with P. Now we are working on M, right? M has two versions, sigma known and sigma unknown, right? We covered sigma known case. So far, this problem is the last problem in the sigma known case. That means when you know sigma. Now in the next class, which is going to be on Monday, and we have a test on Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah. In the next class, what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about the second case when you do not know sigma. And I will not cover anything more than that for the next class, just to make you feel at ease for the midterm. So where is it? Okay. Again, the theory is here. You can read it up. It's very similar to the population proportion and population mean. And this is where we are gonna do a confidence interval when we do not know sigma, okay? Just to give you a heads up, in the real world, you really don't know sigma as much, okay? In the real world, you don't know sigma. Most of the times, what you know is S, standard deviation from the sample. If you collect data from that data, you can find or calculate standard deviation. In the real world, honestly, you don't know sigma pretty much most of the times. So you have to base your calculations off of sample standard deviation. When you're dealing with sample standard deviation, you do not know sigma. That means population standard deviation. In that case, you'll be using student t-distribution. That means you cannot use the normal distribution. The difference between normal distribution and student t-distribution is that student t-distribution is a bit stretched compared to the normal. I didn't draw a good picture here or good diagram here. This is the t-distribution, and this is the normal distribution, standard normal, let's say. And as the sample size n increases, okay, as the sample size increases, this stretched part for the t-distribution disappears. It looks more like the normal distribution. And that's the beauty of student t-distribution. In the real world, by the way, you'll be using student t-distribution. You will be communicating with other researchers or other people, those who are working on statistics. You'll just give them the t-value, okay? So that's from that one you can do the calculations, and you can basically figure out what's going on. All right. So we are going to be using student t-distribution in the next class, and this is going to be the last topic before the midterm on Wednesday, a week from today. Okay, so please go ahead and look ahead and just browse through the problems in student t-distribution or confidence interval when you don't know sigma. And we will talk about it on Wednesday. And you folks have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great time during the weekend, and study a little bit too. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Bye.
Bye.